Welcome to Koffee Talks with Dan Norton and David Person.
Dan, I needed to tell you something. It's just a quick story, whatever, it's no big deal or anything. But my wife, Stephanie, had asked me, why do I always speak so softly in the house? And I said I was afraid that Mark Zuckerberg was listening. So she laughed. I laughed. Alexa laughed. Siri laughed. The Tesla laughed. It just, Dan, I don't even know, buddy. I don't even know.
Yeah, everyone's listening all the time. That's how adverts work now.
Yeah, it's true, Dan. Dan, here's the thing is, this brings up a point that I think our audience is a lot of them really want to understand better. So I got this message from @DavidLYV1. It's actually probably a comment on our podcast and not a message. And he said, does Dan ever laugh at David's jokes? Because he said, I'm here laughing at a public gym and getting glared at from all the popular kids. So, in other words, he's enjoying the podcast and he's chuckling and stuff. And he realizes that while he's laughing and having a good time, you're sitting there like you're ready to just go pull out all of your green hair.
Yeah, I just don't want to encourage you because this is what it's like when I don't react to you. Imagine how bad it would be if I did react.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. I'm going to take you at your word this time because I hate all the times you lie to me. And this is the way to, understand that you're just kind of exaggerating the truth rather than actually lying.
Yeah.
Dan, we had a comment from our good friend Craig, and he gave us some wonderful suggestions about how we could make sure we're maybe not videotaping too long, maybe not videotaping too short. I call it videotaping. These days, guys, it's podcasting. It's getting out in front of you guys and letting us know that we have an opinion that is meaningless to most of you. So Craig said, as some wonderful suggestions, he wrote out a 42-page essay. I'm actually getting it printed in the National Science Journal within the next month or so. They loved it. And I told Dan about it, and I don't mean to throw you under the bus, Dan, but if the bus was rolling, I'd be throwing you under it right now. I said, Dan, these are great suggestions. And Dan said, you know what? We got a good thing going. Don't worry about it. Everything's fine. So I do want to tell you, and I'm going to let Dan speak to in his own defense here in a moment because he's elected to take the stand, the witness stand, at his own, expense, so to speak. It's a slippery slope. But Craig, I wanted to say to you and everyone else who comes up with these wonderful suggestions, we are so appreciative. Thank you so much. Your time and effort, your loyalty to the podcast, it's very meaningful. I just need everyone to understand this is not my podcast, okay? This is not my podcast. I sit here. I owe a lot of favors to Dan Norton, Esquire of the Columbus, Ohio Nortons, and he is making me pay. So I don't have a say in how these things go down. He's running the ship. I'm just chattering on the ship until the Titanic eventually takes its last voyage. Dan?
Yeah, so Craig's suggestion was more about taking clips from the podcast and doing some videos during the week that were just segments out of the existing podcasts, which I tried a little bit the first time we did the Koffee Talks run back when we were doing like the weekly videos that were pushing like 2 hours a lot of the time. And some of those went okay, but I think the way that we do them now, there's not really good clips, I don't think, from this style of podcast because it's a little bit of chatter and then we have one main topic. So when I was doing it from the other podcast, it was because we were doing the sections of the news and the comments and then a main topic as a 15-20 minute chunk in the middle. And sometimes I was able to pull out something like that or pull out a bit of an interview. I just don't know if the clips would work too well from the format we've got. And like I say, I do think we've got something good going. I think we're growing. We're going the right direction. The days that we don't put a video up, it's because I've got other videos, or if we're a bit busy, I can put something up as filler. Like, I think we're doing all right. I think we should just ride the wave that we've got going.
Okay, so we're going to ride the wave even though neither Dan Norton nor I can swim. That's good stuff, Dan. All right. You can swim?
Yes.
I thought folks from the UK never found water in their entire lives.
We're an island.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Dan. Sometimes my geographical skills are not as robust as others in the Pokemon community or hobby. I just love saying that word. So if you guys have other suggestions like Craig and don't believe anything that Dan just told you as far as his justifications, rationalizations for why he's unwilling to do that extra work of clipping highlights, send your comments in DMs, PMs, and RQ and YMs to me. We'll come up with a way to maybe chastise him privately, so make him feel bad, and then maybe he'll be open to a suggestion or two.
Can I remind
Speaking
you that one of the big bits of feedback we got early on this was you need to buy a microphone, which would be 3 minutes on Amazon and $20, and you haven't done it.
Dan, I can't monetize. You know that, buddy. I'm not making the views. Let's just talk about how many views we've got here. Okay, you ready, Dan? I don't want to be sacrilegious because this really isn't a religious situation. It's more political. It's more apolitical. But Dan, my only check ever received from a monetization standpoint, everybody knows this now. The audience knows is $14. Dan, this podcast is going to rapidly escalate towards over 10,000 subscribers. That's not the podcast, by the way. That's Dan Norton's at DJGigabyte channel. You guys should watch it. It's fantastic. You go on Instagram, it's at DJGigabyte, okay? By the way, I know it's what we're watching right now, but Dan loves that. So how many subscribers do I have, Dan? Watch my finger, guys. It's 0, okay? So I'm not buying a damn mic. I'm going to hold out until I get a raise. I want a raise for what I'm doing. All right, speaking of feedback and stuff, and speaking into a mic, Dan was contacted. We found this out a couple of podcasts ago, or one podcast ago, a couple of days ago, from CGC regarding that video we did on the Danish national trophy cards that were authenticated, which aren't national trophy cards, aren't even Pokemon cards. And Dan said something like this, that CGC said, hey, they're going to request them back and they're going to relabel them for the person who submitted them. And I just got to thinking about that. And this is the same issue they have with the whole playtest situation, is you're at the word and whim of CGC. And I'm not talking good or bad about CGC right now at all. Just get that through your minds. I'm just saying how interesting from a logistical standpoint that the person could send them back and they could relabel them, reslab them, relabel them, whatever they need to do to indicate that these cards are actually not authentic in the sense of a Pokemon card. They're not authentic in the sense of a trophy card. They're just a playing type of card, something like that. Or they could realize that that might not have been even the best choice from there, and they could decide to not reslab them. And I know Dan alluded to the fact that they were going to reslab them. That's not my point. They could change their minds. And this is why a lot of folks are actually reluctant. Like, if you're those people that have those cards and you get a call from CGC, granted, you might want to do business with them again and they may never accept a submission from you because they're mad at you. Maybe you don't want to resubmit them. Maybe you're like, I'm not going to send them back because CGC chose to do it. I'm going to keep them exactly like they are. And you could use the justification of not sending them back, that maybe CGC would come back to you and send them back completely unslabbed and say, you know what, we realized in hindsight, we should have never graded these in any way, shape, or form in the first place. So I just got to thinking about that and thinking about why, again, everybody's got their reasons for doing or not doing or whatever, but the initial and mistake here, whatever you want to call it, was by CGC. Yeah. I'm not saying deliberately, because they could have got that information from somebody and it was not real information. They could have been sold a hill of goods, a bean of goods, a hill of beans, sold a... Boy, it's tough, guys. The mind is going. And the sad part, I say this to you every time. We'll talk more about this in another podcast. As you listen to me, you're going to see it's really sad watching Uncle Dave fail mentally. But anyways, sold a bill of goods. That's what it is, I think. Sold a bill of goods. Dan?
Well, yeah, obviously I stand by what I said in our podcast is the best case scenarios is that these are not in any kind of slab. But we are past the point of no return on that, because it seems like the way it's going, the person who owns them is willing to return them to CGC for a relabel, but likely wouldn't return them if CGC just said, we're going to remove them from the slabs and you're getting them back unslabbed. They'd probably just keep them slabbed. But I think there would be issues on CGC's end if they said to someone, please send these back in so we can relabel them, and then just took them out the slabs and refused to put them back into any slabs. I think that would cause some logistical issues. From the point of view of the person who currently owns them, we know that in the current state that they're in, where they were labeled as these trophy cards, Golden pulled the auctions for them. So likely in that person's mind, it's set where, okay, in the current form that they're labeled at, no auction house, no sales place is ever going to touch them. Maybe the thought is if they get them relabeled as being like fan-made or customs or something like that, potentially that does open the door in future to actually go through these auction houses if these auction houses no longer see them as being deceptive in the way that they were. So I can totally see from that person's point of view why they would get them relabeled. And I can see from CGC's point of view why they would relabel them rather than taking them out of, or just saying we want to take them out of the slabs, because if they say that, they're not going to get them back. I think I replied to some comments about this where obviously ideal scenario would be that these are not in slabs, in my opinion. Just no one grades them, but when that option is off the table now, our options currently are, or well, not our options, the options for these cards currently are, they are labeled as custom homemade cards, or they are labeled as Pokemon World Championship trophy cards or National Championship trophy cards, and having them labeled as customs is the lesser of two evils in this scenario. That is definitely the better outcome, because it takes away some of the confusion that's going to be happening with people, and it makes it less likely for someone to get scammed or pay for something that they don't know what they're paying for.
I don't want to go off on a tangent here, but I just, the one thing that you said, and I think it makes, intuitive common sense, but I don't necessarily agree with it, is the fact that, if they took them back and CGC and they took them out of the slabs and sent them back, yes, that person would be mad. They would be angry. But what would their recourse against CGC be? I would argue not very much, only because the costs of doing some kind of litigation for something that ultimately is not worth very much in the first place isn't there. So what I would say about that is that it really wouldn't be that difficult for CGC to make that person feel bad, but uphold their reputation by not re-slabbing them, if that makes sense. Now, let me go one step further. When you talk about not re-slabbing, because if you re-slab as fan art or you re-slab as, fun cards, or this is my whole argument in the whole beginning, we talked about this in that video. What is the point? So my granddaughter, she colors a Pikachu, and can I send it in? Can I send it to CGC and say, granddaughter Ellie's Pikachu card, and they're going to slab it, granddaughter David's Ellie's Pikachu card? Because that's what we're getting to if they continue to say we just slab anything and label it whatever you want us to, when they label it unauthentic, not authentic, authentic for Ellie. It doesn't make sense to me. It makes more sense for me to take these back and say, we screwed up. Sorry, guy. We're not going to re-slab them again. That slippery slope that you keep opening up, where you're like, hey, we're just, we're cutting and pasting anything and we'll slab it. It continues to me for me to tarnish that brand.
I totally agree with that. My thought is, if they do this, like maybe the guy who has the cards taken back and sent back ungraded, unslabbed, maybe he doesn't have any sort of like monetary recourse, legal recourse. He just puts the bad press out there saying they did this to me. But what that then does is sets the precedent for in the future, if CGC makes any mistakes in future, they're never getting any slab back to correct, because the next time there's something out there where they say, oh, we made a mistake on that, we want to correct the label, anyone is going to go, well, no, last time you said you were going to do that, you just took cards out the slab. There's no way I'm sending it back. So that, I think, would just set that precedent where it would make it much, much harder to correct mistakes in future. I totally agree with you that these are basically fan art. These absolutely should not have been put in slabs, but I can understand why this is the route they're going down.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense, Dan. And please comment, guys, if you have thoughts on this. I think it's really interesting when Dan makes that last point, because, one could argue that Dan's absolutely right. Now they're never going to get the slabs back. But let's say as a company, they've got some kind of search engines going out there in the background. And what they're doing is they're thinking about, let me just turn my phone off here a little bit. So they're watching for these particular items. They've got searches out for Danish and trophies and whatever, CGC, whatever they've got out there to try to catch these instances, because they know somebody didn't send it back, and they're going to try to let them know, or let the public know, that these should not be. And hopefully they're not grading a ton of things that shouldn't have been graded. But one could argue that as long as they're notified that they buy CGC, and CGC can show those notifications that they asked for them back and they didn't get sent back. And yes, they're still at some risk of liability because they graded them in the first place. But now it's really upon the seller. The seller knows that they've got stuff that shouldn't have been graded. They chose not to send it back and get it relabeled, unholdered, or whatever, and they still have that notice. So I don't know which is the better of the two solutions, but I could certainly, say CGC saying, we told you it wasn't legitimate. We made a mistake. We notified you. You chose not to send them back. I don't know. I got off way on a tangent on this one, Dan, so I apologize.
Yeah, I get that. If they're left in their current state, there is always a chance of private sales happening, not through any auction houses, nothing listed online, just some sort of in-person, like, one-on-one sale where someone thinks they're buying a trophy card, that CGC then have no... Then, I mean, that person could buy it, then look it up, and it would say on the CGC website, if they put in the code saying, this is non-authentic, we shouldn't have graded this, blah, blah, but that person's still already been ripped off and still already believed they bought something and believed it because they bought a CGC graded card. It's, totally agree that there's no good solution, really, to this problem. It's kind of just... I can understand why they're taking the solution that they are.
Yeah, and really the no good solution comes from them grading it in the first place. There needed to be more.
Yeah.
There needed to be,
in my opinion,
more,
totally screwed up.
data. All right, I have one more thing, Dan, regarding just grading companies, because you don't grade mostly. I don't grade ever. And so I'm completely unaware of all this stuff other than occasionally somebody will say some words. So I've heard this concept, and everybody that's watching knows exactly what I'm talking about. And they're like, Uncle Dave, you're an idiot. What do you like? You're telling us stuff we already know. Yeah, but it doesn't mean it isn't the first time I see something or want to react to it. So I see on Facebook or something this week, somebody submits the fact that, like, a piece of paper from PSA saying that they got their Umbreon back, I believe from Prismatic Evolutions, as a PSA 10. And I think it said upcharge or something like that for $299. So $300. I was in shock. Now, I know none of you are in shock because you guys all know this concept of upcharge. I cannot imagine somebody is going to send their card. There's such a huge conflict of interest in all of this. All of you know this. And they're going to pay $300 additional just for the grading because they gave it a 10. I don't know if PSA is incented to give it a 10 because they want an extra upcharge. I don't know if you should be mad, even if they're not incented to give it a 10, because whatever, just because they're charging you more. Like, I have so many people that'll say to me, I'm never going to grade any bulk amount of my nice cards with PSA because those upcharges are so significant a hit. I'd rather go to CGC or Tag or something else. Dan, I was just in shock. I mean, what a game, what a manipulatory game, and what a sad situation, in my opinion, that the collector and investor public is willing to send these cards off and pay these kinds of upcharges that are huge, a huge percentage of the value of that card.
Yeah, so most grading companies do have submission tiers where you pay based on the value of the card that you're submitting. But as far as I know, PSA is the only one that can bump you up a level based on the grade of the card. I believe, like, with CGC or Beckett or Ace or any of the others, I believe it's just you put in the value of the card, submit it at that level. If they accept it at that level, whatever grade they put on it, you've paid at that level. But PSA has it where if, for example, the value submitted at will be the correct value for if you got a grade 8 or a grade 9, you're in that correct bracket. But if getting the 10 would bump you up a bracket, or in some cases bump you up 2 brackets of pay level, PSA then charges you the difference in the value levels. So it's like if their value levels are, say, $500 to $1,000 and $1,000 to $10,000. If a card is $500 raw or $500 in a 9, but then is $2,000 in a 10, if you submit it at that 500 to 1,000 level and then it gets the 10, they then upcharge you to that next tier because the value of it now is in that next tier. Which, yeah, you're totally right. It means there is incentive for PSA to give 10s sometimes they can send this extra bill to people. But of course, if you declare the value of your card as in that 1 to 10,000 range, and it comes back a 9, so it's only worth $500, I don't think you're getting a refund.
That is absolutely, it's incomprehensible to me. It has to be the biggest, I don't want to say scam, but especially because we know the inconsistencies in the grading. This is not a machine situation. I'm not even saying machine situations are better or worse. They ought to get better over time just because of machine learning. But anyways, this whole thing, it makes me so glad to this point that I haven't graded anything, because I just can't, as a reasonably intelligent human being, this all makes so little sense, especially when you said what you just said, that, hey, if you try to influence them by paying this much, to a grading tier, and they choose not to, like, now you're going to not get a refund. Like, none of it makes sense. So
Well, it's not so much me saying that it would be to influence it; it would just be
no, I was
putting the
not
best.
saying you
Hey,
said that.
yeah,
Yeah, I was
paying
just
the
saying
best
that.
case scenario in
Yes,
case, so
yes,
that you know what you're paying up front. You don't have upcharges to worry about.
right.
But then if it comes back lower, yeah, it is pretty crazy. Before we get on our main topic, I'll talk a little bit about what I did today because it's pretty cool. So there's a few new Pokemon products came out today. So me and Laura went.
I was just going to ask you. You
Okay,
didn't even let me get there.
okay. I will go back. You can ask me whatever you were going to ask me.
Okay, you just didn't let me finish. Okay, I'm going to get to what
Okay,
you did today because I guessed it. Okay, you ready?
you
I got one
guessed
more
it. Okay,
topic and then your thing. So, number one, this one has nothing to do with what you did today. I just
okay.
need you to tell people, because I can't figure this out at all. What in God's tarnation is a buddy buddy poffin? I don't know what a buddy buddy poffin is. Every time I hear it, I want to get up and dance, do a small jig, put on some really rapid music. I don't know what is a buddy buddy poffin, and why do we have it?
Well, a Poffin is Pokemon food. Within
There you
the
go. I learned that today.
games, you make Poffins to feed your Pokemon, and giving them different types of Poffins will boost different stats in the Pokemon. I haven't played the games myself, but I'm assuming that a Buddy Buddy Poffin is one that like boosts friendship levels, because there are certain Pokemon that will only evolve when they hit a certain friendship level. In the TCG, it's a very, very good card that's played in a lot of decks.
Okay. Thanks, Dan. I'm really glad I asked, because I actually got my one pearl of wisdom that Poffin is Pokemon food. I would have never known that. And I was trying to be silly because it's a silly card in my mind, but it's not. All right, Dan, now we're going to talk about you. So today I get a bunch of blurbs and blasts, and I was going to ask you, did you happen to spend over $300 today at the Pokemon Center on what most of our audience knows to be your very favorite Pokemon character, which is a Vaporeon, which they've now allowed for pre-orders in a life-size version. Notwithstanding the Glaceon and Flareon, because I know how much extra cash you have sitting around with this monetization rage you're on. So, Dan, did I hit it? Did I know what you were going to talk about, or was I completely off base?
That wasn't what I was going to talk about, but Law did pre-order me the Vaporeon.
Okay, all
I
right. Darn
said
it.
I said not to. I said it's $400. I said it's a lot of money. Or was it 300? I said it's a lot of money, but Law went, no, I want to get it for you. So we just
All right.
ordered Vaporeon, and then we ordered Eevee as well, because Eevee was only $50, because being life size, Eevee is really small, but the Vaporeon one is huge. But we're not going to get the rest of them because we just don't have the money or the room.
Or the
But
room.
we'll,
Okay. All right, Dan.
yeah.
Good. Good. I'm glad. I knew that there was going to be something like that in there. So please continue now for what you wanted to say, because I thought I had you, but I apparently didn't get you this time.
Well, the other thing we did is there was a few different TCG products came out today, and we went to one of our local stores to pick up our pre-order. Some of the staff there said that they were about to do a live stream to open some of the products, and asked if me and Law wanted to jump on the live stream with them and open some of the stuff we'd bought as well. So we did a live stream with some of the staff at our local store. They opened one of the Dragapult decks, showed that off. We each opened Lily's premium collection, the tournament collection, and then I got open one of my Eevee pouch prismatic evolutions. So that was it was a live stream on Twitch, but then they've made it into a YouTube video. So it's a God Tower Games is one of our local stores, and hopefully me and Laura will get to do some more videos and stuff with them in future.
That's fantastic. And plus, most importantly, it sounds fun, which is what,
Yeah, there's a
we
lot of
talk so much about things that this hobby is not characterized to be these days, which is ridiculous. Dan, since you use that British accent, and no one's going to know what you just said, would you please slowly enunciate the name of the store one more time?
It's God Tower Games is the name of the YouTube channel. God Tower West is the store. I'll put a link to the video in the description of this
Okay.
one. So
Okay, cool. And when you're saying God, are you talking about the preeminent being that's in the sky? Is that the word God Tower?
God, Guard.
That's why I was asking, because I really thought you were saying God, and I was wondering if there was a religious slant. So this is the whole thing with the UK guys. You know, if you don't know something, just DM me. We don't want to make Dan mad that nobody can understand a word he's saying. Okay, congratulations. Today's topic, because I thought, we'd be over by now. We don't even have to do a topic today. We're done. Okay, guys, it's been great. Have fun just listening to Dan and I rant. Dan's going to do this real fast. So here's what he's going to talk about today, real fast. The topic of the day is take a look at this. Okay.
Yeah,
This
it's not
is
that,
the
but
Dan, I'm bluffing. Let me finish.
yeah.
Doggone it. I can't have any fun at all. We're talking about the 2022 holiday calendar. You know what, guys? No, we're not. But this is the only calendar. It took many, many years to get to this one from the one that we're actually talking about, which is this one.
Yeah.
This is the 2008. Let me just look at the back. It probably is. I can't see it on my glasses on. 2008. What does it say on the front, Dan, please?
Countdown calendar.
Countdown calendar. Okay. So I'm gonna tell you my story, and I'm gonna let Dan tell you about the product. Very rare, very hard to come by. Back in the day, back in 2008, when I was searching for these cards because I realized there were variants inside of this box, I actually searched the world, literally the world. It was when I would spend hours, 5, 6, 7 hours a night trying to find it. I could not find this anywhere. So I found some boxes anywhere across the world because I don't think they were issued in this country. And I actually found some open sets where people had taken the cards out of the box. Dan will talk about that in a moment, where they had complete sets. I bought 5 or 6 or 7 of these, and to this day, I still have 3 or 4 of them left, including a couple of boxes. But the most fun story about this, and I like the stories because actually I can actually remember a few of them, which I can't remember much of anything anymore as you guys watch my rapid decline, is I actually ordered something from a website in Peru, and I didn't speak the language at all. I had no idea what I was doing. I saw a price, I put an order in, I paid a credit card, and somehow 2, 3, 4 weeks later, this little set of cards, whatever number it is in the set, comes in from Peru, having no idea of the language or what that website said. I took a shot because I saw it and I knew how rare I felt these cards were going to be. $30 or $40 now, they're probably several hundred at least. So that's my cute story. I'll never forget it because it was so hard to come by these, especially the sealed ones, and the variants, especially the Pikachu, in good condition because these cards are laying in the box, not in good condition. They're flying all over the place, not wrapped in any way. That doesn't bode for great word for condition of your cards as well. Dan?
Yeah, so unlike the current advent calendars, there isn't a ton of extra stuff in there. There's one booster pack and 24 variant cards. This isn't like now where there's about 8 variant cards and some fun packs and some coins and stuff. It is literally just every day is a variant card, and the last day also has a booster pack in it. The variant cards, they just are regular cards from sets with a snowflake stamp on. So this is actual stamp as well, where it's just stamped onto an existing card, as opposed to the current ones where the snowflakes are actually printed onto the card. So it's a little bit of a different manufacturing process. So the first 23 days, it's cards from Diamond and Pearl, Mysterious Treasures, Secret Wonders, Great Encounters, and Majestic Dawn. They're all non-foil cards. They all have a golden snowflake stamp in the corner. There'll probably be some pictures up on your screen now. And then the final day is a Black Star promo, DP16, Pikachu. It's a holo foil, as it was originally, and it has a silver snowflake on it. So this Pikachu, this is, again, a variant. There was already a DP16 foil Pikachu from another product. If there wasn't, this Pikachu, I think, would be even more expensive than it already is if this was the only DP16 Pikachu. But the fact that there's another version means people aren't as crazy for it to finish out a Black Star promo set. But it was also a Secret Wonders booster pack. I don't think I said that came in with the Pikachu on day 24. But as we talked about before with some other, we talked about DVD promos and stuff a few episodes ago, these are completely unsealed. Each one is just standing up straight in a piece of plastic. If you just open the tabs on the top, there's just a card in there to reach in and pull out. So yeah, like you said, condition is everything on these. Getting these in good condition is not easy. And you can find the sets of loose cards if you're trying. It's not too difficult to find. They do pop up most of the time. They're usually available. The sealed ones, though, are next to impossible to find. You're right that it wasn't released in the US. The main place that we were able to get them from was Canada, because Canada did get them, and then there were a few countries in Europe got them, but I think some of those had non-English versions. Like I think Germany had a release in German. I think there were maybe one or two countries in Europe that got English language versions. I know the UK didn't get them, but that's why they were just so rare, is that it was just a very, very limited release in a few countries.
And I want to clarify when you say that the sealed ones are much more rare, because it just, in the context, it almost sounded that you were talking about the sealed pack of cards. You're talking about the entirety of the sealed calendar, because as you stated, inside of the calendar, the cards themselves are not sealed in any way.
Yeah, the sealed calendar, like what you just showed, is just very, very rarely pops up.
Yeah. Dan, what is your theory behind? I believe that if we took this as a 2008 product and we fast forwarded to the 2022 calendar that I was holding up, trying to get your goat, Dan, I was trying to fake you out. I was doing an April 1st Fool's joke somewhere in May or something, or whatever we're getting close to. Made no sense.
Yeah.
What happened for 14 years? Why did they decide that this was not a good idea? I mean, I know there's been some, I don't even know what this word means, you'll tell me, but there's been these things called advent calendars, or sometimes there's little gifts and goodies inside, but not a Pokemon trading card product prior to maybe 2022, that calendar I showed.
Yeah.
Why would they never do this? Why did it take so long? Why did they never do this in the US? Why was this non-US product? I know you're speculating, but why 14 years later to even put something out?
My assumption was that it didn't sell well. I know that, I think it was 2 years later, 2010, they did a product that was almost the same as the first one, with Heart Gold, Soul Silver cards, but only in Germany. So only in German. There was no English language release. But Germany does have another full set of 24 cards, this time from the Heart Gold, Soul Silver era, with these golden snowflake stamps, and then the last one being a hollow foil with a silver snowflake stamp. It was basically the same product, just for the Heart Gold, Soul Silver era, but that was only, as I say, only in German. So it's not one that either of us have, because, I mean, that's even harder to find, but also neither of us really go for non-English cards that much. But so maybe maybe the first one sold all right in Germany, so they tried it a second time, and then maybe it just didn't sell well. My assumption is just that anything they do where they don't repeat a product is just low sales figures, because we've seen how often they're willing to repeat products and just make a new version of a product. So I can't imagine any time there would be a successful product where they wouldn't just keep doing it.
Do you regret, Dan, not being a German card collector? As you discuss this and your mind is talking to itself inside of that maniacal skull of yours, do you regret that you are not now a German collector because you missed out on some of these beautiful 2010 HGSS cards and all the rest of it?
I mean, if I think I didn't know about the German one until quite a few years later. If I'd heard about it when it was happening, I probably would have asked a friend in Germany to get me a set, just because they're kind of cool. But I think now the secondary market value, what I'd have to pay for them now, I don't think is something I'd want to be paying for non-English cards, just because it doesn't really fit in my collection. I do really like the HGSS era, though, so maybe if I finish out all of the English stuff in the HGSS era that I'm trying to get, maybe then I'll just say, okay, this will be a fun little addition.
Sure. And I know that's really going to happen. You know what's sad is we should have a rule on the podcast going forward that we do not discuss any foreign country cards, because every time we do, I get more and more sad that I don't own them. I love HGSS era. I can't believe I don't own those cards. I don't need them. I shouldn't have them, and I want them so badly. And then we did the Vivillons, which everyone knows now is like my next favorite thing. In fact, I always rank my kids, my wife, and my Pokemon cards on a daily basis. It's what we do as basketball coaches, because this way you keep your players honest. They got to keep working to be the best if they're going to be the best. And right now, Vivillon is on top of all of that. And I don't care if the family likes it or not. They can all, you know what they can all do. I'm not going to say it on the thing because it's like a PG, like it's almost like a PG. It's like a G rated. Is there such thing as G rated? I don't think the world is G rated anymore. So anyway, so yeah, I don't let's not talk foreign anymore, Dan, because I'm getting sick and tired of being jealous of everything that's out there. Okay, especially because
If
Laura apparently has a set of everything.
Well, Law doesn't have these German ones. I will say,
Oh
if
wow!
I
Well,
had to,
hallelujah.
if I was having to go out and buy stuff, I would definitely be buying the Vivillons before I bought these, because the Vivillons are at least different artwork because they have that different coloring, whereas these ones for the German cards are just a stamp. You know, it's still the same artwork, it's still the same German commons that you would get from German booster packs, whereas the Vivillons at least look different and they have a cool story behind them.
Dan, it sounds like Laura can be pretty generous when she feels like she's doing something that's to your own good, like buying you a hugely expensive life-size Vaporeon plush on a pre-order from the Pokemon Center. So maybe you should tell her, maybe you should start dropping hints that you've actually started collecting the HGSS German stamped calendar set, and maybe you'll find out that she's find a way to buy that for you as well. I mean, Sugar Mama delivers. That's like a hashtag in your household. What
Yeah.
do you think, Dan? Should we start spreading the news?
I mean, if I'm trying to get money off Laura, I'll just try and pay off my credit card. We'll see where that's going. Laura
Okay.
did say to me the other day, "Oh, talk to Dave about investing in the stock market and see what we should do." And I went, "If you've got money to invest in the stock market, pay off our mortgage. That'll be better. That'll be a better return is paying off our mortgage than investing in the stock market."
There's been tremendous articles recently about this is the truth, by the way, about whether or not you're in a verified, bona fide, solid marriage if you are not managing your finances together. A lot of the articles detailing the fact that the opinion is if you're not managing your finances, you're really not as close as you ought to be in a marriage. I will leave that and pin that for another day, but
Yeah,
it's funny when we talk about it because you never know.
that's too heavy of
Dan,
a topic for this podcast
yes,
because we'll
yes,
both
of
end up
course. No,
divorced.
I get that. So Dan, you know what the saddest thing is? We move forward. I'll end my comments with this. We move forward to this 2022 calendar and
Yeah.
box or whatever it is. And there is so much in those boxes, 22, 23, 24, the new ones that have come out recently, and nobody wants them. Nobody wants them at all. You can get in there and they've got the cards in the slots as well. And the condition is usually, if the cards aren't mangled, certainly the plastic cellophane around them is completely
Yeah.
mangled. I can't even picture if they've got people sitting on an assembly line sticking them in there. Like, what a job to have. I'm being serious. What a horrible job, because I can't imagine a machine could do what needs to be done inside these boxes without ripping it all apart. So the day-to-day drab of having to stick them in there and then they don't fit, and so the whole thing is kind of crazy, but the amount of value you get in those boxes is tremendous, and it's really unfortunate that they don't seem again. Why would anybody want them? Here we go. Oh, there's a set of 8 calendar cards, but we're not a master set collector. We don't do that, and we're not a calendar set collector, because why would we collect an 8 card set? And now we're a character card collector, but maybe it does or doesn't have a Pikachu in there. I don't know. My point being, so I'll just go buy that card instead of get the whole rest of the box. It's sort of sad that this stuff, can't be more widely accepted and enjoyed from a value perspective. And there's even sealed packs in there as well. So
Well, I think these new ones are just so heavily printed because they're on the Pokemon Center. They haven't. I think they must be printed so many amounts because they take a while to sell out on the Pokemon Center. But also in the months leading up to Christmas, there are hundreds of these in Targets. Like, these are nearly as well stocked as Battle Academies are when it comes to Target and Walmart, and they are aimed more at kids who actually want to use these as an advent calendar, open one every day in December. And kids like booster packs. That's all it is. They don't love the individual cards as much. They love getting a booster pack and opening a pack, and they like their stickers, and they like their the clips they can put in their backpack. That's all it is, really. It's another product where, if we're looking at it from our perspective or the perspective of collectors, yeah, it doesn't seem like a great product because it doesn't seem like anyone's enjoying it, but we're very much not the target market for that product, and it is doing well with its target market.
nice. Hang on just one sec. No, I know, but I told him was supposed to be a 12-minute video. He won't shut up. I know we're going to be late, so that's fine. Just start the car. Yeah. Okay, Dan. So at this point, it might be good for you to stop talking, Dan. That's completely up to you, but I'm going to stop at this point. And thank you for your analysis of the 2008 countdown calendar product with Pikachu on the front that is wonderfully cute and extremely rare, especially in sealed. And nice condition cards of those are rare as well.
Yep, and hopefully people saw them all in the pictures and stuff that I put in. Right, well, that's it for today. I don't know if we're recording tomorrow, probably. I know at least Sunday I'll be putting up a video of me opening some prismatic evolutions, so I got some more of that today. So if we do record tomorrow, Sunday will be a double video day from me, but we'll see what happens, and then I've got some other stuff coming next week, as well as this more Coffee Talks, so hopefully everyone enjoyed, and you'll see at least me tomorrow, maybe both of us.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Coffee Talks with Dan Norton and David Person, with music by More Than Never and artwork by Lore Norton. A special thanks to all our Patreon members. Join us again next time.
But they don't want you to.